Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Back with another one of my bookshelves. I'm going to try to get through this whole shelf tonight. It's probably going to be 2 videos. This shelf is just as full as my Buddhism bookshelf, the bookshelf that I did the first bookshelf tours on. So I think we're just going to have to break it up. I want to make these videos a little more accessible and fun to watch. You know, I'll get through a lot, and then also you won't have to spend too much time on it. Although if you're like me, you know, these bookshelf tours are like, you know, my drug of choice. You know, I'd rather watch some BookTube videos and see people's bookshelves, see what all they got, than pretty much anything else. So here we go, off to it. So up, as you can see, this is basically Western canon bookshelf Christianity at top, and the top 2 shelves here. And I'm gonna touch on this. This is gonna sit right up on the top. But at first we have the Strong's Concordance, exhaustive concordance of the Bible. Totally essential for Bible study. Strong's Concordance. I have a large hardcover there. Every word in the Bible is there, and where it is, and what verses, and then it gives you the Hebrew or the Aramaic or the Greek, whatever the source material, the original source material for that word was, what word they used in that original language, and then there's then you can go and look up you know, definitions of that word to see why they used the word that they used in the translation. It's super fruitful for biblical study. I highly recommend it. As some people are aware, you know, even the name of God is used different ways. When you see in the King James Version, Lord in all caps, that is a one name of God, Yahweh. When you see, you know, Lord, capital L, that is another name of God, I believe, Adonai. And, you know, God proper, addressed as that, you know, Elohim. So there is, in our Bible, there's translation of these names of God, when they are actually different names of God. But, you know, in the modern way, you know, Lord in all caps is never called out. You know, at least not in my, you know, modern non-denominational church that I attend, you know, with my family. Never called out, you know, to be a specific name of God, and the difference between addressing God in that way rather than Elohim or something like that, for example. So definitely fruitful. I have volume 1 of the Interlinear Bible. This is Hebrew and English. It has translation of the Hebrew and English right there, with annotations and notes to the side. The Interlinear Bible is a wonderful resource as well. I have my Masonic Bible. This has a lot of supplemental material at the beginning of King Solomon's Temple, some artists' depictions of King Solomon's Temple, the Masonic teaching, the Masonic beliefs. You know, there is one God, the Father of all men. Holy Bible is the great light to all men. Things like that, and give you something to go on as far as Masonic's system. But it is essentially a King James version of the Bible. Nothing much special. I have a revised standard edition of the Bible there. And then next we have Gospel Harmonies. Now that's what this is. This is a Gospel Harmony that I picked up from from the library. 4 Gospels Restored. This is put out by the Lay Readers Bible Society, a group that did a lot of study on the Bible, and came up with a harmony. And if for those who are not very not familiar, a gospel harmony is when you have the 4 Gospels, or it might just be the 3 Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they sometimes leave out John because it is very different than the other three narratives. Where you have the different periods of Christ's life, and different teachings like the Sermon on the Mount, for example, or the Gethsemane experience, or his crucifixion, all put in the same place. So you'll have, the Christ's birth. So you'll have Jesus's birth, and you'll have Matthew, and you'll have Luke, right there, in the same place. You see Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John up here. This is an outline, and then you have anything beforehand. Luke is the predominant starting place, because that gives Zechariah his song at John's birth, some of John, the announcement of birth of Jesus, and then it starts with the infancy narrative, Matthew and Luke, and then preparation for the ministry, which will be Jesus' baptism. That's where Mark picks up. That's where Mark starts, is when Jesus' ministry starts. So that's when you're going to get your first mark, is when you actually get into his ministry. So it's very useful to use a gospel harmony when you're just looking at different periods of Christ's life and different ways that it is depicted. That Four Gospels Restored is a very useful, but only works on the computer. It's a disc. And then this is a great one, The Life of Christ in Stereo. This is a gospel harmony that I picked up, and is one of the best harmonies that I've ever come in contact with. I've referenced it time and time again, and when I do, I'm always very pleased with the kind of information it has, and how it has laid out the Gospels alongside each other. I have a couple of volumes of Barclay, the Acts of the Apostles and the letters to the Galatians and Ephesians. Barclay is very popular theologian, historical, gives a lot of historical material to go along with what is going on in the Gospels. So I got the Acts because there's a lot of that in there. But and then Green was a very popular as well. Some of Paul's letters, letter to the Russians, letter to Colossians. We have the annotations from John. This is a work that goes into just the Gospel of John, and shows and digs deep. It's very, very fruitful to go through something like that. The annotations are just basically to his to the words of Christ proper. So that ends. You'll find that this shelf is not very organized, but we'll get through it anyways. All good. I just have I have a lot of stuff, and it just kind of finds its own place. So we have Matthew Fox, The Coming of the Cosmic Christ. I have that right up against Paul's letters because Paul followed the cosmic Christ. For Paul never met Jesus in the flesh. Jesus appeared to Paul in the spirit only, and was a cosmic figure, and what Paul's letters teach of is the cosmic Christ. The Dead Sea Scrolls, this is the definitive translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Michael Wise, Martin Abegg, and Edward Cook. I have the Nag Hammadi Library. This is the definitive Gnostic scriptures found at the Nag Hammadi Library. There's some overlap here in content, but like things like the other Bible, ancient esoteric texts. This has Jewish pseudegraphica, Christian Apocrypha, some Gnostic scriptures, some Kabbalah, Dead Sea Scrolls, also in here. So I have some doubles, and some of them are translated a bit differently. I'll use them in conjunction with each other, just to work into a text and to just see why things were translated the way that they were. Gnosticism is a wonderful path to deepen your spiritual life, and see how we've got where we were, or where we are. The Gnostics by Churton. I have not got through that book. It seems like a very popularizing of Gnosticism. The Book of Revelation. This is a great work. Arnie Yunhim. This is just a mind blow. It goes through all the books of the Book of Revelation, visions and churches, symbolisms, the message of the symbols, patterns in the vision, and it has these awesome line drawings to go along with it. This is something that I got a lot of worth out of. It is very good to go through the Book of Revelation, guys. The Book of Revelation is an amazing text that is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Emmett Fox. I have the Sermon on the Mount. Now that is a very mystical interpretation of the Sermon on the Mount. Very, 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 very worth a read. Emmett Fox was the man. This is a little tract, Emmett Fox, Reincarnation Described and Explained. The Way of the Master, Ray Comfort. That is a very popular book. I Am With You Always, True Stories of Encounters with Jesus. This is 20th century people encountering Christ in their lives, whether it be through hardship sometimes or through meditation or contemplation others. So a very good one. The Lost Gospel of Judas Iscariot. This is a text that was found. This is Bart Ehrman, a biblical scholar, and he's just working into and hashing out what is found in the Gospel of Judas. Not canon, that's for sure. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Jesus and the First Woman Apostle. This is another apocryphal text that's not canon, but we do have papyrus. Now some of these are as well in that other Bible, or some of the the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Lost Gospel. This is the Book of Q. Now those who are not into biblical study, we don't know where there's like 300 years or something between the life of Jesus and when the Gospels were written down for the first time, and for the longest time scholars believed that there was this book that was common source material for the book of Luke and source material for the book of Matthew, other than Mark. Mark was the first gospel that we have extant, and then there was there was other writings of Jesus that were passed around, and they called that the Gospel of Q, for lack of a better name. They don't know what to call it. So this is a book all about the Gospel of Q, which is basically just sayings of Jesus, words that are attributed to the Christ. It was a very fun read to get through for me. This stuff is fun for me. I love spiritual study. So I have the Oxford Annotated Apocrypha and the Apocrypha put out by Barnes and Noble Books. There in the corner. Apocrypha texts are things like the Gospel of James, the brother of Jesus. This is the Revised Standard Version. This is fun. There's the first and second book of Esdras. That is also in things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, I believe. There's first book of the Maccabees, second book of the Maccabees. These kind of things might be a little bit familiar to some people that read through apocryphal texts and things that aren't canon, but we'll leave that be. I have a couple by. This is Leo Tolstoy's Kingdom of God is Within You. I put this one on my shelf here because it is the most logical argument for how to be a Christian and how to live. Hold on one second. How to live the Christian life. If you're at all interested in Christian way of life, that this is a great text and almost an essential text. Tolstoy was nothing if not a very perceptive logician, and he logically works into the what Jesus taught, and a very popular book here, The Library of Spiritual Classics, Practicing His Presence by Brother Lawrence and Frank Labat. So that is just practicing the presence of God and seeing God in, even the most mundane of things. This is Fabre d'Olivier. He was a contemporary of Napoleon Bonaparte, and this guy is a mystic, very very mystical Christian. And the Hebraic tongue restored, this actually seeks to reinterpret, retranslate the cosmogony of Moses. So the first, two chapters maybe of Genesis in a way that is very very it's going to seem very very different than our direct experience with it. But what he makes the argument that it is actually the more true translation, and there is just so much support. You can see the lines there are, the text is up top and the bottom is annotations and support for what he's saying about the Hebrew characters and how to interpret them, what these these words really mean, and they are a very deep mystical understanding of the Hebrew language, which was a very deep and amazing experience to go through. I love that book. It's well worth the read. I have a CD set, audiobook, Sound Journeys into the Beyond, Seeking Heaven. This is like a meditation. Haven't gone through it. Just picked it up at the library for very cheap. So figured why not. Here we have some Old Testament stuff. The Old Testament, an introduction. Otto Isenfeld. The living story of the Old Testament there, and the Pentateuch. The Pentateuch is the first 5 books of the Bible, and this is actually just going through Genesis, Exodus, and Deuteronomy. This volume, just to give me a little something more to work into Old Testament ideas. When I read Old Testament, I have no doubt that some of it might have been used as propaganda for the times, and some of it might be just historical account of the history of the Jewish people, Hebrew people. So we take all that and as what it is, and just work our way into it and use it to inspire, use it to give grist for the mill, so to speak. This is a Thomas More did a commentary on the Book of Job. So this is Thomas More's Book of Job right there. We have the Epic of Eden, which I went through with a group. It is just basically a very surface but fruitful look at the dynamic between God and man, for somebody to just go deeper in their faith. That is Susan Richter did that, and that was a cool group to go through. I have the Hidden Wisdom of the Holy Bible, Volume 2, Geoffrey Hodson. This is a great work. This is a very mystical interpretation of the Bible. So anything like that, I get my hands on. Pagels, Elaine Pagels, she wrote, and I probably have a copy, sitting somewhere else. She wrote things like on Gnosticism, things on what people really believed, popularly at the time when stories like the Old Testament was written. And so this is an exploration of the symbolism of Adam, Eve, and the serpent, and that story. Redeeming Time, Reflections on Psalm 90. This is just a book that goes deep into Psalm 90, and I like that one a lot too. Very cool to just dig into some of David's songs. Essentially, he was a lyricist. He was a singer and wrote poetry. Beautiful stuff. So, but very, very deep. I have Charles Hannell's R.H. Charles translation of the Book of Enoch there. Confessions of a Megachurch Pastor. I haven't worked through that, just kind of picked it up because it looked interesting. It's found its way right there. Prayers that Outwit the Enemy. You're going to find, that I have, just modern popular, some modern popular Christianity that kind of struck me as interesting just there. I like to just get a taste. The Dynamics of Worship, James P. Gills. That is all an exploration of what it means to worship and how we are beings that are made to worship. If you're not worshiping God, guys, you're worshiping something. If you're not worshiping the Spirit or something spiritual and gaining and trying and having your eyes toward heaven or toward upward, then you're looking right around you and worshiping something right here. And at the worst, you're looking down, and just beating yourself up, and that's just the way that it is. We're made to worship. We're made to have something to devote ourselves to in life. It is a call, not just something that some people take part in. Everybody takes part in worshiping something and devoting themselves to something in their life, and finding out what that is, if you don't know, is one of the most fruitful things that you can do. I don't get preachy. I just I live and let live. But that is one of the things that is a truth that I can kind of put out there and hopefully just spark a question in people's own minds. Yeah. Well, what is it? What? I'm an atheist. Yeah. So what am I worshiping? You know what I mean? What is it that I am devoted to in my life? Intellectual stimulation. Whatever. Prayer, the Master Key. A whole book just on prayer and the power of prayer, and that goes with very much one of my favorite writers and theologians. That was a prolific writer and very, very popular, but also very, very deep. A.W. Tozer. A.W. Tozer. His writing, The Pursuit of God, The Divine Conquest is what I got. He's got a lot more. His path and what he would say is the path of the Christian is prayer, is constant prayer. Jesus was in constant communion with his Father. Jesus was in constant communion with God and showed us that our place, our calling, what we should do is to go for that constant communion with the Spirit, living from within. Our intention we live by impulses and inspiration, and that kind of stuff is available to everybody. But you have to be calm and quiet in order to receive that inspiration. It's right there. Victory Over Darkness, Neil T. Anderson. That's a popular Christian book that was given to me by a friend. Haven't worked all the way through it. True Spirituality. That is an exploration of Romans 12. The Divine Romance. This is a fiction work that actually is all about the spiritual life and God's place with us. He is it's basically a love story between God and man, and so but essentially a fiction work. So something like C.S. Lewis, things like that. God's Fool. That is the life and times of Francis of Assisi. So Julian Green. That was a fun read. I've delved into the lives of the saints very sparingly. Not a big fan, of getting into biographies of saints and stuff like that. Maybe later. The Holy Fire, Robert Payne. The story of the early centuries of the Christian church in the Near East. There's a lot of mystical stuff in here. Some of the early church fathers stuff in here. And let's just see, Clement of Alexandria, Origen, Basil the Great, Gregory of Nicaea, Gregory Nazianzen, something like that. Dionysius Areopagite, just to name a few. So just some of the early church beliefs and what was disseminated, and how that is a deeper meaning of what that is. Ye Are Gods, Anneliese Schouwen. Now this is a very, very special work right here. Ye Are Gods. She had her own mystical experience. She was a Mormon. She had her own mystical experience, encountered Jesus, and was then on in her life a very, very deep and prolific a practitioner of a very personal Christianity. Here's some of the other books by her, and Ye Are Gods. That's where you go. That's a starting point. It is fantastic stuff for somebody looking to get into a very personal understanding of who Jesus is. The Explicit Gospel by Chandler. Now that I bought just on a whim. It was good. It looks at spirituality from a very base place, in the world, and then a spirituality from a very rarefied place, in the air is what it's called in the book, and then a marriage of the two and how they reflect each other and how it's all really just one path. So I recommend it. It's good. Erasmus and Luther. Discourses on free will. So this is some Erasmus and Luther put up against each other. Just excerpts from a little of their teachings on free will and what it means to have our choice. Do we embrace completely a free will, doctrine of free will? Modern Christian theology. This is a older book that I've referenced many times just to get a theological bent on a certain issue or whatever. The Truth of the Gospel, Ibling. This is a popular exposition of Galatians. So actually should be kind of up there with the other books of Paul. This is just a translation of the New Testament there. When the Heart is Hungry by Charles Allen. This is Christ's parables put in a modern context. So a very modern bent on some of the parables that Christ used in his teaching and making them applicable for today. I have a copy of the Book of Mormon right there. The Kolob Theorem. This was really interesting. This is a cosmology based on Mormon spiritual thought. And Mormon spiritual teaching, if y'all aren't aware, God is the God of this universe, and just this universe. All the universes have their own God, and God lives at the center of the universe. And our God lives at the center of the Milky Way. And every galaxy that there is, sorry, I said universe, but I mean galaxy. Every galaxy has their own God, and there is a supreme God of each galaxy, and how our world is affected, and the path that it's taking, and the evolution of it is all dictated by, from the inside out of our Milky Way. It is a very interesting read. So I recommend it if that kind of strikes you as something interesting. The Complete Cloud of Unknowing. Now this is a book written by a monk. This is a Christian mystical teaching that was written by a monk, and it may be a very rarefied thing, but it is very much in the popular culture. We can go through it if you like. It is very deep, and very very worth it to touch on. Fasting, the second step to eternal life, and that is a whole exposition on fasting and the benefits and why and where it's talking about fasting, what kind of things it says about it, and all that. Goes all over the place, all around the block with different ways that fasting has been seen and interpreted in different cultures or by different individuals, mystically, mystical people that did it on their own, or groups, cultures that fasted as part of their culture. A Course in Miracles. I have a copy of the Course in Miracles here. Basically, hey, forgiveness is the miracle worker, guys. You got to be willing to forgive if you're gonna receive anything in this world, especially forgiveness from others or from yourself. If you can't extend that forgiveness, then you're already you're already working against yourself. It's just a natural thing. So that'll get you there. So the Course in Miracles is really really awesome and really deep. Blake said, what did Christ inculcate that Cicero and Plato didn't inculcate before him? And the one thing that Christ brought to the table, William Blake said, is forgiveness. Forgiveness alone is what Christ taught that nobody else taught before. Complete forgiveness, total forgiveness for everything, and we have to strive to attain that. I have 3 works by Deepak Chopra. I'm not a great big fan, but these definitely piqued my interest, and I'm happy to say that the Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, very 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 good. His take on Jesus, yes, good, but not so deep, not so much of a mystical bent, though it does delve into go into that area a little bit. And Everyday Immortality. Everyday Immortality is a great little work. If you want to just, if you've never come in contact with Deepak Chopra, this is something that is quick and easy to give you a taste of what he's about. A concise course in spiritual transformation is what it is, and you can see it's just very very short and to the point. You just take it like a meditation. It is a guided meditation, basically. And then I have Come Unto Me. I got this, for nothing. It's just got some beautiful pictures, and the stories of Jesus there on the other side. I thought it was was beautiful. I got it for next to nothing. It was basically, you know, just something put together to go on, you know, your coffee table, or, you know, on a table at the at the bank or at the church or something like that. So just a pretty little work that I got and just have there on the side. So there's my first two shelves there, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Next two shelves there will be more mystical, very mystical individuals, and also some esoterica, some more Jewish Kabbalah, Hermetics, things like that. So thank you, YouTube. Hope you enjoyed the bookshelves. Bye. Happy reading.